Hi, everybody. This is a recap of what we did in class today for anyone who missed class today, and for anyone who just wants to hear it again. First of all, I do apologize for the formatting of the Google Doc that I provided in class today. It was all set up in Word, and when it converted to a Google Doc, it messed it up. You all probably know more about Google Docs than I do. So feel free to play with the formatting if you need to, just however you need to make it work. I think most everybody who was in class today went ahead and finished this during class time and turned it in. But it is not actually due until Monday, so no penalty for turning it in late. One of my favorite stories by Baltimore's own Edgar Allan Poe. For those of you who were not in class, please take a look at, you can just jump over to anywhere on Google. There's some good videos on YouTube that cover that connection of Baltimore with Poe. So anywho, here we go. Here's the story. If you look on Google Classroom, that's the wrong platform. If you look on Canvas on today's material, you will see a link to a YouTube video of a very creepy, kind of darkly funny animation to go along with the story, The Telltale Heart. Really kind of the first known story with an unreliable narrator. First person narration, but is he telling the truth? Is what he says happening really happening? Is that the way it happened? No, but it's a lot of fun. So anyway, the first part of this worksheet is the story itself. So you can go through and annotate anything you want to annotate that you feel like is relevant to the questions that are going to follow. Now, this is a diagnostic exercise, meaning that as long as you do this, you get the full 20 points. I'm not grading for accuracy. I'm not grading for correctness. This is diagnostic for two reasons. First of all, it's going to help you see what you feel like you need to work on, where you don't feel, if there's any place in here where you don't feel confident, let me know. I am lesson planning for the semester and I want to hit all the points that need to be hit. This is also going to supply some really valuable data for me as I plan to see where your strong suits lie and where maybe you need a little bit more support. That said, I'm just going to briefly go through this so you can work on it. So the first one this is all from the Writing Revolution. I showed you this book on Monday, one of my favorite planning books for writing. And we're going to look at whether or not something is a sentence or if it is a fragment. So for wherever you see numbers 1 through 5, if it's a sentence, write an S right next to the number, and then capitalize and punctuate the sentences to make them correct. If it's a fragment, just put an F, as in frog or fragment, and then change those fragments into a complete sentence. I'm going to model a couple of these for you. First of all, number 1 is the old man's eye. The old man's eye, that has no verb, right? So we know it's not a sentence. It's a fragment. So how am I going to change this into a sentence? Let me think here. The old man's eye became the narrator's obsession. There you go. Done. Bang. The old man's eye became the narrator's obsession. So I took this. Let me change this to a different color. Let's make it blue. to show where we started. The old man's eye, and then I added the rest of the sentence to make a simple sentence. Okay, so second one, let's skip that one. Let's look at number 3. The narrator conceals all evidence of his crime. The narrator's the subject, conceals is a verb. What does he conceal? All evidence of his crime. So this is a sentence. So I'm going to put yes, and I'm going to fix it because it's not right. We need to have that first word capitalized, and then it needs a period. And that's all I'm going to model on that, because you need to do the rest, because I need to gather me some data. All right, so the second one is very simple. You're going to rearrange the words into a sentence. They're all scrabbled up. I did throw you a bone by bolding the first word of the sentence, so you know that the is going to be the first word of the sentence. So you're going to put it in the correct order, and then correct capitalization and punctuation. All right, so this one is kind of fun. After you read the story, you're going to write 2 statements, and I don't know why that 1 and 3 aren't showing up. I told you that the formatting gods are frowning on me today. So to write 2 statements and 2 questions. So for a statement, I wrote, even though he is obviously mad, the narrator insists that he is not. So that's just a statement. And it goes back to that unreliable narrator. Question. We had some fun with this in class today, and I'm sorry those of you who missed class missed it. We had some good questions, and I'm really enjoying reading them now for those of you who turned it in. What was the relationship between the narrator and the old man? And this is a fun question because the story never really says what their relationship is. We don't know if they were father and son, grandfather and grandson. We don't know if the young man was an apprentice of some sort who was living in the old man's house. We don't know if the young man was just wandering the streets and the old man took him in out of the goodness of his heart. All that we know is that he was a good old man. He was a kind old man, and he was very kind to the narrator. And the narrator says that he loves him. If you watch the animation, you're going to see that they kind of make some assumptions and take liberty with determining what their relationship was, but we really don't know. And I think that's kind of neat that Poe did that to make people wonder. All right, so moving on, we looked at this on Wednesday as well, different sentence types. You're going to write 1 complex sentence and 2 compound sentences. And if you want to go wild and do some complex compound, you can as well. We're going to use the because, but, and so. So the stem that I gave you is the narrator believes he is not insane. And then you'll finish 3 sentences saying the narrator believes he is not insane because, I don't know what we would put there, because he feels pain in his own mind. There we go. The narrator believes he is not insane because he feels sane in his own mind. All right. Actually, that is more of a compound sentence. Then we have the narrator believes he is not insane, but you would finish that as to he really is, and this is why. Lastly, the narrator believes he is not insane. So this can be anything that you want to write, as long as it shows me that A, you read the story and it makes sense in its structure. Okay, and then we have some fun stuff here with complex sentences. Even though the narrator claims to love the old man, that is a dependent clause. You are going to finish that up. You could say, Even though I didn't write anything there. I was going to model that. Even though the narrator claims to love the old man, he brutally murders him and dismembers the body. So something like that would finish out that thought and make this a complete, complex sentence. All right. And we're going to do it again. This time you're going to take two sentences and you're going to combine them. And we did this so fast. I think Jamal and I did this after class, and he and I had the exact same thought, and we wrote the exact same combined sentence. So think about how you could use the fanboys. If you remember those coordinating conjunctions we went over on Wednesday. If you weren't here on Wednesday, just look up coordinating conjunctions, fanboys. You can watch the video I posted too about sentence structures, and then write your combined sentence in the space. Next, we're almost finished, I swear. And then we're going to work on expanding a kernel sentence. Kernel, like a kernel of corn that you throw in the fire and then it pops into a big piece of popcorn. He acted cautiously. You can go back into the story where he talks about how cautious he was and he acted cautiously, or you can make that judgment yourself of any action of the narrator throughout the story. So this is what I did. I said, who was the narrator? That's the he. When did he do this? When he disposed of the old man's body. Why? So that he would not be suspected of murder. And so the, left part of it out. So that's what I came up with. The narrator acted cautiously when he disposed of the old man's body so that he would not be suspected of murder. So you see, I went from this kernel, he acted cautiously, which is correct, but it's also very fifth grade. You are a college student, so you need to expand it into a more robust sentence. All right, last thing I'm going to ask you to do is in this blue box, write a short summary of what happens in the story. Remember that summaries are very brief. They're not terribly detailed. They don't contain any direct quotes. You are going to format it and work on those transitions using the words first, then, and finally. First this, then that happens, then finally that happens, or finally that happens. All right, that is it. If you have any questions, please shoot me an email, and I will help you any way I can.